I'm Ashton Addison from EventChain for Investment Pitch Media and the Crypto Coin Show. And today on Blockchain Interviews, we have David Kay, the Executive Director and Chief Investment Officer of Liddy Capital. David, welcome to the show, and thank you so much for taking the time to be here today.
Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. I'd love to kick it off for the viewers with just a little bit on your background in the space, and then we can dive into Liddy Capital.
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually started my career as a lawyer, which thank God I left a long time ago. I was then an investment banker. And then for the last 10 years, I was one of the founders and the portfolio manager for what was a large private equity firm based out of New York. When I left, we had over $1 billion of capital. And we were really focused solely on litigation financing and complex arbitrations and litigations that take place around the world. So this has been in my blood for a long time. I took some time off for COVID, which was nice. I was lucky. Most of the people that I know were not affected. And I'd been traveling for about 260 days a year before that. So it was good to connect with the family again. And then, for the last year, I've been sitting on boards of some larger public and private entities until I met Jonas and the guys. And when they told me this idea, it blew me away. I didn't know that there was anything that could get me to, come back into, this kind of craziness full time, but they did.
Mm-hmm. That's a great background. And I can't believe you've been traveling that much. And now being in the blockchain space, it seems like you really can be anywhere. But I know that your team is working on a bunch of litigations that we can dive into. And I don't think a lot of the viewers are probably familiar with litigation finance. A lot of people understand finance, but it's rare that they hear about litigation finance and what Liddy Capital is doing. Maybe you could explain a little bit surrounding what exactly is litigation finance and how is Liddy Capital involved in that?
Yeah, it's a great question. So litigation finance, in short, is a process by which we help to finance the cost of litigations for people that couldn't otherwise afford it, right? So in exchange, we get a percentage of the upside. And probably the best example is, let's say, Ashton, that you started a company, okay, EventChain. And 2 years from now, HugeCo comes and says, I'm going to buy it from you for $15 million. And you're like, great, $15 million, I'm in, I'm a seller. You sign a contract, and there's a clause in the contract that says that if you do anything that could hurt the brand, they could terminate you and not pay you the $15 million, which you never think is an issue, right? You do something small like post a silly Twitter picture of nothing with nothing, and HugeCo claims that you violated the contract. They take your company, right, and they don't pay you. Now, you didn't really do anything wrong, okay? But HugeCo is willing to spend $3 to $5 million to fight you in court for the next 2 to 3 years. Now your business is gone, your income is gone, and what do you do? And the sad thing is, what, with most people, what happens is they actually walk away. This whole idea that the bad guys don't win is actually not true. A lot of the time, the bad boys and the HugeCos of the world, even if they do something that's not appropriate, they win. Sometimes people will put up a little bit of money, mount a slight defense, and HugeCo will come in and say, look, you made your point. We'll give you $2 to $3 million to walk away, which is a huge amount of money. And almost everybody else takes that money. What we do is something different. What we do is we step in and we say, no, that's not appropriate. This is ridiculous. We will finance you the full cost of the litigation. If we lose or you lose, there's no liability for you. We take 100% of the liability. And if you win, we'll take a percentage, right? Let's say 20%. Now we stand up to HugeCo. HugeCo's lawyers know of me and the great lawyers that we get from you. We fight them. And a lot of the time, not every time, but a lot of the time, we win. And now, Ashton, you've walked away with $12 million, very happy to give us our $3, and everybody walks away happy. So that's kind of a short example of how it works.
That's a great example. Thank you. And hopefully that never happens with EventChain specifically in that example. But I understand what you mean there.
$15 million? No, nothing?
If we win, definitely.
If you win.
I know big companies, when they try to take advantage of smaller companies and just draw out litigations and have expensive lawyers, then that's obviously the time when you would need a litigation finance company like Liddy Capital. And now with Liddy Capital, you're also incorporating blockchain technology and cryptocurrencies into it to help democratize access and a bunch of other advantages. Maybe you can talk about the specifics of Liddy Capital and how it's differentiated from a traditional litigation finance company.
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, I was telling you I got dragged back into this, and I kid about that, but really what it was is, one of the things that really upset me about the private equity space in the US generally is that my parents couldn't invest in my private equity fund because they don't have $1 million of liquidity. My siblings couldn't invest in my private equity fund because as of now, right, outside of DeFi, you can't invest unless you're an accredited investor, which means you have to have about $1 million in liquid assets. To me, that was ridiculous. And it was always a problem, right? I know that I'm not out there saving babies, but I genuinely believe, and it has genuinely always made me feel proud to go out and defend the little guy. And historically, I've defended the little guy to make 30 to 50% cash on cash returns every year for the 1%. And the idea of being able to provide private equity for everyone, which is my passion here, is something that is so game changing, and it is so the right path. Whether it's us at Liddy Capital or somebody else, this is the right path. These types of returns, this type of industry, I mean, Google, hedge funds, or private equity, the returns are out of control. And some of the absolute stupidest people I know have more than $1 million of liquidity, and some of the smartest people I know don't. And the idea that is the dividing line between people that can get these returns never sat right with me. And that's what Liddy Capital is about. Liddy Capital is about providing these types of returns to everybody all around the world, whether you have $50, $5, or $5 million.
Definitely, and I completely agree. And it seems, and I hope that the rules are continuing to change, because it does seem so unfair that the 1% can get access to these opportunities. And sometimes there's people that are more than capable and more than qualified to receive opportunities like this, but they just don't have access to it. So I'm really glad that you're presenting it in this way. Could you talk more about how retail investors and the 99% actually can get access and participate with Liddy Capital? Yeah,
absolutely. So the way that we've set up Liddy Capital is there are two tokens. There's an equity token, which is the equivalent of a share in the company. And we're a real company, right? It's an experienced management team. Crypto is flooded with people that have ideas. It's flooded with scammers, which we should talk about. Our entire team is an experienced management team who's done this before. We're set up in Switzerland. We're one of only a handful of companies that has actually gotten a letter and an approval from the Swiss government, from the Swiss regulatory authority, confirming that what we're doing is acceptable. And you can own a share in us, a part of us. You can be a part of this movement by owning a token. That equity token is then further broken down into what's called a wrapped Liddy, okay? And the wrapped Liddy is what trades on the different exchanges that we're set up on. And that wrapped Liddy is what the 99% can go out and buy and sell. 2 minutes, 1 minute, hold for 3 years, stay with us. Whatever you want to do, that wrapped Liddy is that liquid mechanism for people to be able to participate.
It's a great explanation. Thank you. And that is great to hear that you're also registered and approved in Switzerland. I think that also brings a lot of credentials to the platform. So that's nice to hear. And now, in terms of actually generating the revenues, you mentioned taking over litigation cases. I was reading that Liddy Capital itself already has 3 high-profile cases, and you're working on expanding out. Can you talk about those cases and why you chose those, or what are the qualifications in getting a case that you think has a high probability of winning and generating revenue for the company?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. The interesting part about this is that's the easy part. right? For me, for the better part of the last decade, I have been diligencing, collecting, working on, and ultimately collecting capital for, when we've gotten judgments, litigation finance cases. That's what I do. The new part to me is actually the crypto side and the blockchain side. So it's a little bit of art, it's a little bit of science. Just like anything else, you get a feel for what's a good case. The things that are important to us is obviously who is the plaintiff and who's the defendant. There's all these rules around law and complicated statutes, but you would be surprised at how many cases by experienced judges and juries alike that are decided based on who they think is the good guy and who they think is the bad guy, right? So understanding who is on both sides of it is hugely important. Where it's being litigated. It is certainly much more attractive to be litigating a case in Western Europe or the United States than Sub-Saharan Africa, although we've taken on cases successfully in all of those places. And then I would probably say one of the most important determinants and one of the things that's the most overlooked is who is the defendant. And that's important because at the end of the day, a judgment is just the single most expensive piece of paper you've ever bought. The game and what our job is to actually get people paid. And the odds of you getting paid does rely materially on the credit quality of the defendant. So understanding the defendant, understanding their ability to pay, and ultimately selecting those cases where there's a good plaintiff with a good story in a jurisdiction that makes sense and against a defendant that can ultimately pay, that's basically the secret sauce. Now I told you. So now everyone knows.
That's great. And thank you for that explanation, David. And that does make sense. And sometimes it's just the good guys versus the bad guys, and there are judgment calls that are made there. So it's great to hear that insight from the experience that you have prior to introducing the blockchain part of it as well. And with Liddy Capital and the blockchain part, I saw that your team recently closed a $12 million private round as well. And I know you're continuing to raise, and there's a lot of excitement around Liddy Capital. So congratulations on that, first of all. And thanks. I'm curious, what are the next steps with that? What is that capital going to be allocated towards?
Yeah, first of all, thank you. We're extremely excited. We launched about 3 days ago. We had a very successful launch on a significant amount of volume, and the support that we've gotten from the community is humbling. And we are excited because this is really just the beginning for Liddy Capital. I think in terms of the capital that we've raised, we've done what we're supposed to do, right? My job as the CIO of Liddy Capital is ultimately to build a portfolio of assets that will generate the types of returns that the industry has done in the last 10 years and that I specifically have accomplished. 30, 50% cash on cash returns once we get started is the target. And the way to do that is ultimately to take the cash that we raise and buy assets, buy litigations, and manage them. So you're right. We've done that with 3 litigations. We've actually spent 10 of the $12 million on those 3 litigations. And this is a really important point that I want to make sure that your viewers understand. We are not a cryptocurrency. We are an asset-based company. If Bitcoin goes to 100,000, the value of the assets that are in our portfolio haven't changed. If Bitcoin goes to 5,000, the value of the assets in our portfolio hasn't changed. The outcome is still going to be the outcome, and the cash, dividends, and proceeds that go to our token holders are going to be the same irrespective of what's happening in currencies. So, that is an important piece. In terms of the additional capital that we're raising, we have a long and large portfolio of cases that meet the criteria that I like to invest in. And we are actively diligencing. We have a couple of term sheets out now, and we're hoping and expecting to announce adding some additional cases to the portfolio in the near future.
That's a great explanation, and thank you for that. And we did talk already a little bit about the WLITI token and how the 99% can get access to that. I just want to touch back on that one more time. And I think the viewers understand that, if you're winning, the company's growing, that's going to relate to the token as well, and the asset-backed equity token. Is there any other functionality or things that the viewer should know about the WLITI token, and if there's any interaction with the platform or how exactly that functions and has their involvement in the project?
I'm so glad you asked that question. For me, I talked earlier about the passion that I have for bringing private equity to everyone. And, you know, that is a passion. But what really got me just jumping in this with both feet is part of this project is that the founders and I have agreed that 5 to 10% of every dollar we raise, not profit we generate, dollar we raise, is going to be put back in the community to find, prosecute, and recover money taken by crypto scams and crypto frauds. Okay, so I want to just be clear that if we were able to raise the same amount of money as I had in my last fund, $1 billion, there would be $50 to $100 million that we would have, where our goal is not to make money. We're going to get our expenses plus 10% for our overhead, and the remaining 90% will go back to the people who were scammed. And it is, you want to talk about the time being now? The time is now for this. Crypto fraud and crypto scam is a scourge on this community. And right now, governments are not incentivized to stand up and do anything about it because crypto is not being regulated. Individuals and other people either can't afford it or it doesn't make sense because it's simply not profitable. The only way that we are going to stand up is if some organization stands up and says, I'm not doing this to make money. I'm doing this because it's the right thing to do. And with the particular skill set of me and my partners, we know how to go get people. We know how to find them. And we ultimately know how to bring money back in. And so this, we believe that this is going to be a very material part of the offering. And I don't know if you saw it or not, but we've already had our first successful case with an influencer and friend of mine, Coach K, who is a relatively well-known person in the crypto sphere, who we got introduced to because he was scammed. He lost $250,000 to a scammer, and we were introduced to him, and he brought us on the show. And within 48 hours, we had located a scammer. We had located where he was, what he had done with the money. It's actually worth watching. You can go to his channel or any of the Liddy Capital sites and take a look. But this is not words. Words are one thing, actions are another. And Liddy Capital is here to stay with that. And these scammers, a lot of them are going to hear from us really, really soon.
Wow, that's definitely great to hear, David. And I'm so glad that your team is focused on that and giving back, because it is an issue in crypto, but I don't think it's something that people should be afraid of. The no coiners and people who haven't got into the industry yet, they hear that this is the main thing. It sort of deters them from entering the space altogether. But as you've clearly shown with the creation of Liddy Capital, there's so many advantages and benefits of having these cryptocurrencies and introducing it and democratizing access to this capital. So the benefits definitely outweigh the negatives, but I'm so glad that your team's focused on that as well. So that's really great to hear.
Ashton, I'm telling you, I really believe that it is one of the primary things that are holding back this industry. That fear of being scammed and the number of people who have been scammed, it's poison. And we gotta stand up and say enough's enough. You'd be shocked. So the people that we're going after, generally when we are going after people to repay for wrongs that they've done, they at least make an attempt to hide themselves and their assets. There is no fear among these scammers. They are not hiding. They are not going anywhere. They don't believe anyone is coming. It is absolutely unbelievable to me. And at the very least, hopefully what Liddy Capital will be able to do with the Coach K story and the other stuff that's coming. On the 9th of July, we're going to announce the next 3 cases that we're potentially going after. And only WLITI holders get to decide which of those 3 cases we ultimately go forward and prosecute. We're announcing that on July 9th. And I think that what you're going to see and the minimum effect that we want to have is to make these people afraid. Because I believe that somewhere between 25 and 50% of these cases will go away if there's even the smallest bit of fear to get caught. There's going to be these real criminals that there will be a problem for a while. It's a deep-rooted problem. But I think there's a chunk of it that just comes because nobody's afraid of getting caught. There's no downside. And we're going to change that.
Definitely. That's great to hear. And you did mention there, you're introducing more cases in early July here for the WLITI token holders also to have a say in. We are running short on time, David, but I would love to hear the best ways for the viewers to learn more about the WLITI token, Liddy Capital, how to get a part of this platform and get involved.
Absolutely. So you can come join us on our website, litycapital.com, on Telegram, Liddy Capital Official, on Twitter, at Liddy Capital. It is, and if you have been scammed, you can email us at scambuster@litycapital.com. And please join us. If you've been scammed, or if you want to be a part of a community where you can invest the same way the 1% has been able to invest, we really, Ashton, I think I told you at the beginning, our goal is to get this message out to everybody. Everybody has the opportunity to, not only should have the opportunity and now does, to invest like the 1%, but also to be part of a community that protects its own. And Liddy Capital is the place for both. And we hope everybody comes and checks us out.
Definitely, David. And I will leave all of those links in the description box below for the viewers as well. All the best with Liddy Capital and the whole platform moving forward. I'm really excited to see how these initiatives play out and to make the crypto space a safer space as well. So thank you so much for that. And let's follow up in the near future.
Thanks for having me, Ashton. Sure thing.